Welcome to the Strong, Single and Human podcast, a real look at single parenting, how to navigate the ups and downs of life with kids on your own while keeping sane. We cover all manner of subjects from domestic violence, dealing with childhood trauma, through to fussy eaters and how to help your kids become resilient. I'm your host, Claire Martin. Welcome. This week's guest, Angela Marshall, is a motivational speaker, professional writer, columnist, best-selling author, creative consultant, ex-NFL wife, and business owner of In Other Words, by Stone. Angela resigned from a 20-year job in the corporate world to embrace the purpose that has pursued her throughout her life, to be unmasked, unchained, and untamed. She struggled through a lavish but sorely lacking lifestyle as a former NFL wife. That chapter in her life produced her autobiography, Reality to Rags to Riches, the story and life of an ex-NFL wife. And she is also a featured author in the Women Who Lead anthology that chronicles successful women across the globe. Angela is an entrepreneur and a positive words powerhouse that utilizes her personal life experiences of struggle, strength, and success to captivate audiences and readers abroad. She speaks with positive purpose and passion to motivate others while encouraging them through their challenges. She is also a community advocate, youth mentor, and supporter. Welcome, Angela Marshall. Hi, how are you? Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm outstanding. How are you?
Awesome. Wow, you wouldn't want to know my trials and tribulations, but that's all good. We're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. So look, tell us a bit about your journey, because you were an NFL wife, right?
Correct.
I don't know. We would call soccer stars over it. We'd call them wags, right?
That's correct.
I don't know if they get called wags over in the US, but you were a wag, right? From our perspective. And
I was definitely a wag.
Yeah, there we go. And people would say, wow, that's awesome. Why were you struggling with stuff? What was going on? Hello? You must have the perfect life. Loads of money, famous husband, all that attention. Come on, tell us your story.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me on your amazing podcast. It is so fitting for me, especially when you say strong, you put strong and human, and single is oh my gosh, I encompass all of those. So, hey, but thank you so much for the opportunity to just share with your viewers and listeners. Wow, that lifestyle is very, very adventurous. It is one that exposes you to a lot of phenomenal people, phenomenal things. What I lacked and what I struggled with the most, which it was like a mountain of other things, but the most was what I call the Be Like Betty syndrome. And what that is it is societal pressures to be a cookie cutter like everyone else within that organization. I have to look a certain way. My children have to look a certain way. I have to be a certain way. I have to carry myself a certain way. It is the most miserable thing to do, whether you're in an NFL, National Football League lifestyle, or you're just every day in life. The comparisons that we do, whether it's us as adults or even children, it is not good. It is a recipe for disaster and doom. So during that particular time, that was a really, really harsh struggle that I went through that I had to overcome. Because it's like, on one hand, you're trying to fit the bill for being the wife of a quote unquote celebrity and all the pressures that come with that. And then on the other hand, you're trying to figure out and define your life, what you want, how you want it, why you want what you want. And it's just so much bombarding you at that time. So it was overwhelming. So that was the greatest struggle among others, because of course, people think that celebrities or people in position of power, like they just have their lives all together, and like their family doesn't have trials and tribulations, or their marriage doesn't have trials and tribulations, or they don't have money problems, or they don't have, different things. But we had all of those, every last one. The only thing that I struggled the most with was the be like Betty identity.
Well, and were you like, did you get married young? Were you
Yes.
young and having to do, yeah. See,
Yes.
and it amazes me how we all think that celebrities like Bieber and like, and last time I spoke to you, Johnny Depp's court case was in the, and we're sitting there going, oh, these celebrities are like, we put them on pedestals and we go, oh, they're amazing. And, and we believe there's something different from what we are, right? And like, and their wives, right, as you, and their husbands, etc., that they're all different. And actually, they're just a human being. They're soft and squishy like us, right? And they
the
have
hot
emotions. Yeah, and they have emotions. And yeah, okay, maybe you don't have the money worries quite as much as somebody who is like not, doing 3 jobs and all of that stuff. But they're different money worries. And I don't mean different money worries from like, what do I go and buy next? Do I go and buy 4 cars and all different colours or anything like that? Although that would, some people have that problem. But it's, there must be other issues and things that happen that you go, wow, okay. Like, I can't afford that, or.
Well, to me, an issue is an issue, whether it's money, emotional, mental, it's family, it's relational, it's relationship, partnership, business, whatever it is, professional. An issue is an issue, and it's going to throw you off your game. I mean, that's what it's designed to do. Any type of adversity or adversary is designed, for you to struggle through it, so then you can overcome it if you have the mindset to do that. So
yeah,
it's just,
Well, and I'm thinking the be like Betty syndrome, right? The fact that you as an individual, and you're such a strong individual, but you have to not be who you are. You actually have to be who the media and the people out there think you should be, which may not be who you are. And then you have to deal with all of that impact on your life, because you may want to, I don't know, go and paint sidewalks pink or whatever, who knows, but that's not what they would fit you into, that pigeonhole as such.
Absolutely.
So that must be a struggle as well, man. Oh, wow. And and you did do 20 years in corporate as well. So I've been in corporate and I know how much of a struggle that can be as well. So
well, that's why I said it doesn't matter. That's why it kills me so much when people think just because they figure you've made it because of a certain lifestyle or commas and zeros or the people you associate with, like your life, like you're not bombarded with things every single day. It is not true. And I don't understand. I mean, like, I don't get it, because there are people before me, there will be people after me, and people now that are in my same arena that are transparent, and we all are saying the same thing. My mentor just spoke to me this morning. He was like, Angela, success will always leave clues. So if you have people before you that are saying, I did this, and this failed, or I did this, and this worked, or I went through this, there has to be some truth to it. But people still think, oh, she's on TV. He's on TV. He's married to this person. She's married to that person. Oh, he has this. She's driving that. And like, there's no other worries, or there are no other issues. And that's just simply not the truth.
Yeah. And look, I was thinking the other day, actually, the pressure that must be on people my age in the media. Look, hey, admittedly, they can go and get cosmetic surgery if they need to, like, if things are sagging, or they need to, do I mean, this face, thank God people can't see this face, like, needs a bit of plastic surgery, all right, or a bit of filler here and there. I was looking at it in the mirror today going, oh my God, like I've got lines now that I didn't think I was going to have, that I'm going, this needs to, thank God for lighting. That's all I can say. But the pressure that must be on people like Liz Hurley, J-Lo, or all like 50 plus, right? Halle Berry. I'm trying to think of other people now.
But you know what's ironic though, Claire, is those people, when you see them naturally, to me, they look more vibrant and more beautiful. Because when you have the makeup and you have the concealer and you have the this and the that, to me, it is more of a facade. It's like just a temporary feel good. But I get it. Of course, you don't want to look too tired, or you don't want to, certain things that we look in the mirror and we go, wow, I may need to make a little adjustment to that. But for me, if you feel like you have to keep up with societal pressures as far as their standards of beauty, that's a problem. And that's more, and it's not, and to me, it's not a physical problem. It's more of a mental and an emotional problem, because again, you should feel very secure naturally, or better naturally. And then if I want to add a little lipstick or this or that, or rouge or whatever the case is, I want to do, to myself to make me feel a little, more beautiful, then you do it, but not because, I'm trying to keep up with society tells me my ears should look like this, so I'm going to get half of them cut off, or my butt should look like this, so I'm going to get something from my arm and put it in
I'm like, Madonna, your butt looked lovely, right? Why did you have to go and pump
beautiful.
It up?
Absolutely.
Happy day. And now she looks like an alien, I have to say. God love her. It's up to her what she wants to do to her body, and I am all fine with that. She's 60 odd and looks 20 odd. But, I go, okay, but I'm not sure what's going to happen. Like, are you going to be like 80 and still, like, I'm not sure what's going to happen with everything that's been put into her body. But her decision, if she wants to do that because that's what she wants to do, that's great. If she is doing it because the media says, oh, Madonna needs to look like this or whatever, then I go, well, that's not maybe so great. But that's how she earns her money. So
absolutely.
And oh my God, we've just gone straight down a big rabbit hole there, but it's all good. So, okay. So what was the turning point for you regarding this merry-go-round that you were on? And where did you go, no, stop, I need to get off. I need to just, like, this isn't what I'm, what happened with all of that?
Well, I think it was more of what didn't happen. And it was,
okay.
Right. And it was, because you take different pieces of information or advice or suggestions or whatever from this person, that person, this situation, and it's all in search of happiness. And for whatever reason, I still wasn't happy.
Wow.
Oh, but I'm doing this like, they say I should, or I'm doing this with my children. I'm looking this way. I'm feeling this way. I'm adhering to, again, there's that word, societal pressures and trends and styles and, magazine articles that say you need to do this, or you have to do this, or you got to look, but I was still unfulfilled. So at that point, I began to think like, well, the common denominator of my happiness is always me, because every time I subtract or I add this person, that person, this magazine, this TV, show or whatever that said, this is how I should be or look as a person, as a woman, I still was so unfulfilled. So I just decided at that point, you know what? Let me see if I can put and piece together this puzzle of happiness for Angela. And that's what I started doing. It led to my divorce, but that's what I started doing.
But sometimes these things do, don't they? Because sometimes you're in a situation where you need to grow and move on and expand your world in a different way.
100%.
And I think, if you I mean, God love my parents. They've been married for 50 odd years. And I go, okay, not sure I could be with somebody for that period of time. I think they would want to kill me, let alone me kill them. But yeah, but like, well, I don't know. And they've sort of grown together, or they're just complacent and they just they love each other and they go, oh, well, this is, this
Well,
is what we're doing.
I think at that point, when you start to really accept people for who they are and we stop trying to change them or make them and mold them, it's kind of like the be like Betty.
Yeah.
People are who they are. Now, with that being said, I think that any deficiencies or flaws that I have or vices that harm other people or harm myself, harm relationships, partnerships, business dealings that I may have, absolutely. I need to take a look at that and say, maybe that is something that I need to evaluate and I need to grow. I need to do better and be better. But from the standpoint of, there's two personalities, there's two characters, there's two sets of morals and values. And so, it's a coming together. It's more like a union. And I understand that now after divorce. Didn't understand it so much when I was actually in the marriage because, of course, I couldn't see beyond him and his faults or what I thought I needed him to be or what I wanted him to be.
Yeah.
And that was just not a good recipe. So your parents, apparently, they've been together for over 50 years. I don't think, maybe complacency a little bit, whatnot, but I'm pretty sure now or maybe the last 20, 25 years, it's like, you know what? That's who she is. That's who he is. I'm just going, we just going to figure this out and weave it together.
They're just old. That's all I can say. God love them. I mean, God love them. They're like, they travel around, they do their own thing, which is great.
Awesome.
But this,
awesome.
Better stop talking because my mum will be cringing now if she's listening to the podcast, but that's fine. Cool. Okay. So what did you do? I mean, well, obviously you wrote a book, right? But I'm assuming that you did some other stuff before that.
Absolutely. I just started journaling a whole lot. I started writing.
Wow.
Yeah, I started writing. That's how my book came about, The Story and Life of an Ex-NFL Wife. I literally started writing things I liked, I didn't like, areas of opportunity for growth for myself. I mean, you name it. It was like just a bunch of stuff I would sometimes put in all caps and screaming at myself, trying to figure out like, why did I even allow myself to do or be or become XYZ? And then there were apologies in there as well. Not only to my children, but to my ex, which, by the way, we're very good friends now. I mean, it took a minute. We've been divorced almost 22 years. The first 8 years of that divorce, we were like, right. The first 8 years, we were like, at each other. But now, I mean, it's so much better. His life is so much better that I'm detached from him, and my life is so much greater that I'm detached from him. So, it definitely all worked out in the end. But I just really started looking more at me. And that was really the pivotal point for myself, because I could have still been, wallowing in self-pity or sorrow and thinking he didn't, he did. And this is why, demise. But at the end of the day, it's like, now that I'm no longer with him, am I still going to make this about him? Like, how does that help me? How will it help me grow? And then I had our two children that were 9 and 11. They're now 34 and 32. But they were 9 and 11. Wow. Right. So now, I'm like, they're 9 and 11. So if I'm still letting him own and take up space into my head and my heart and my mind and, my life, like, how do I forge, forward? I could have just stayed into the marriage if I was going to do that.
You've sort of got to let go, haven't you? You've got to let go of the past.
Not sort of, you gotta let go.
Well, yeah.
Totally.
Okay. And I love what you said about journaling, because I every morning, well, nearly every morning, it depends what happens, but I every morning write down 3 things I'm grateful for, 3 things that would make my day awesome. And this is a bit of a Tim Ferriss thing, but 3 things that would make my day awesome. And 3 affirmations, and they don't have to be the stick your fingers down your throat gaggy sort of like I'm great, I'm like a winner and all of that stuff. But it can be things like I'm a good mum and I'm working on being a better mum, or something like that. Who knows? I write various different things. And the affirmations thing I find really hard, but that could be my background. I'm English, so we don't like saying good things about ourselves. We tend to use satire and all of that stuff quite a bit. Yeah, and that's just what I do every morning. And I feel as though if I get it out there in the ether, my life is better. My day is better. My day is not full of rubbish, like one mistake after the next mistake. It's just, I don't know, it lifts me. It makes me focus on what I'm grateful for, which is the fact that I don't have a gun pointing at me when I leave the house. My son, although he's got a cold at the moment, is healthy. He has all his arms and legs and all of those things, which is great. And I'm so privileged to have a house, have a car, have a job and all of those sort of things. And although I don't write them every day, some days it's just, I'm so glad I have a full supply of coffee in my cupboard, stuff like that. But yeah, I agree. However, I am considering changing my journaling to things like you've said, because just actually sitting down and writing for 10 minutes, I do write for 10 minutes, but it's just these set things. But I wonder if getting it onto paper and getting it out of me might just help me as well. So continue to do what I'm doing. But
absolutely, the journaling on paper, as well as even if you don't want to journal, if you want to just sit and designate 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 80 minutes to just talking out loud, it all helps. Because sometimes I will just be sitting in my vehicle and I will have a conversation with myself. And it will be, you really didn't want to agree to that meeting, or you should have done this, or okay, maybe you should call your son back and you guys, you need to apologize because you were a bit overbearing. But I speak those things out loud. And it's a source of, one, accountability. And then 2, what it does is it helps me to just release. It's almost like or like programming my mind when I speak it out, whether I'm speaking or writing. I'm programming my mind, this is what I need to do, or okay, if I'm speaking something that I don't, well, this is what I don't need to do. And then I'm reminded of it for whatever reason. I don't know. It's almost as if it permeates throughout my body more, or resonates through my body more. And then I actually make better decisions. And I think I am more, I'm more of a complete person, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's like, and I have to say to all the men listening to this, right? At the end of the day, us women have to get it out of our body, I think. We have to, like you in the car talking to yourself, like I do it as well. And sometimes I work in the IT industry, so I have a lot of male work colleagues who are friends. And sometimes I just have to say, right, let me just talk. Don't need you to solve anything, because I need to solve it by getting it out of my head. If I get it out, then it seems to form into some order, or I then get a plan.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like you're the same, and you talk to yourself in your car.
And it works.
That doesn't sound mad.
I just wonder sometimes, like the people that are next to me, or they're, like if I'm parked somewhere, they're probably like, what is she doing? Because I'm having a real conversation with myself.
No, I sing in the car, so God knows what people think of me. So I'm like, obviously if I pull up to traffic lights, I sort of try and just nod my head. But yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. So, okay. So I know that one of the things, so you do loads of talks. You've written 2 books. So your first book was about the life of being an NFL wife. Then you've written another book. And what was your second book about? Because I know you've written 2 books, but I'm not sure I've got that written down. Women Who Lead?
So I'm actually a featured author in that book. I didn't write it, but I wrote a chapter in it.
Wrote a bit, chapter.
Correct. And it's a compilation of like 30 women across the globe that talks about their struggles to success or struggles through success, however you want to, however you want to term it. Because what I don't want to give people is false hope or false representation that, okay, this is, I had these struggles and now I'm so successful that I don't have struggles anymore. No. Does not work like that. It's almost as if the struggle, it's almost as if the struggles amplified the more successful or the more grounded, the more mindful you try to become. It's like, okay, now I'm gonna hit her with it was a 10, now I'm gonna hit her with a 20.
Because you can deal with the 10, you see, and it goes when the world goes, well, you need more challenges.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was the second book that you're in.
That's correct. That's the second book.
Yeah,
correct.
That's right. That's what I thought. No, that's awesome. So, okay. So you've had what a lot of people would think is the perfect life, but there's been struggles within that, right? There's been challenging times. Let's put it that way. I'm trying to think of the right word to frame this, right? But there's been challenging times in there. So how have you dealt with those challenging times? How do you deal with those challenging times? Because they haven't stopped, like you've said, right? So if something happens that's like not necessarily the most positive thing in the world, right? How do you deal with that? What do you do with it?
Well, I have what I call the D system. And what that is, system. The D.
I thought it would be the A system or the M system, like for Angela or Marsha.
No, this is the D system. And I decide.
Oh, okay.
I implement determination, and then I deal with it. It's just that simple. Everything I was asked, I did a couple of interviews on yesterday, and one young man that interviewed me, he said, so what's the formula for XYZ? And I said, well, it all starts with a choice. It all starts with a decision, because the formula doesn't work. I don't care. I can give you guys, you got to do this, and this, but we have to consciously make a decision to say, okay, now I'm ready for this level of success, or I'm ready for the solution for that problem, or I'm ready for XYZ. And get this, the decision, even when we make it, it's like you have to continue to make it over and over and over again, even through the determination and then dealing, because there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to constantly combat you, that's going to battle you for power of your mind, of your body, of your finances, of your family, of your faith, of your, whatever it is that you're trying to be and do and have access in this world. It's not designed to be easy at all. It's not supposed to be. So I just decide, I kickstart, light that fire under determination, and then no matter what comes at me, because as we all know, I'll just use the diet for a minute. It's like, if I decide right now and I tell you, you know what, I'm going to go on a diet and I'm going to remove chocolate chip cookies. What do you think I'm going to crave the most? Chocolate chip cookies. Right. So that's why when I make the decision, and then, I'm determined, I got to deal with each one, and I have to continue. It's like a repeat. Decide, have determination, deal with it. Decide, have determination, because the next day I may wake up and say, forget that. I don't want that chocolate chip cookie. I'm off the diet.
But so how do you keep yourself focused on that decision that you've made? Because this is, and I agree with you, right? The one thing that you go, I'm not going to have that glass of wine, or I'm not going to have that piece of chocolate or whatever, if we're talking diet, right? Or I'm going to go running 5 times a week, right? How do you focus on doing what you've said? Because to me, that's one of the most challenging things, because it's okay for a couple of weeks, right? A couple of weeks, maybe 3, and then you get to that point, you go, oh, sod this, I'm just going to do it. Or you go, I can't be asked to go running. And I suppose I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I suppose that's the difference between winners and people who don't achieve what they're looking for. And I'm not going to say losers, but people who continue to go around the same wheel as such, the same cycle, and go, I'm going to go and do X, I'm going to go and do X, and they still never achieve it, right? And it's sort of, you've just got, how do you deal with that?
Well, I think for those people that never achieve it, to me, that's more of that's a choice. It's a indecisive. But now for people that achieve it, and then, we kind of stray or whatnot, how I found what works for me is when I fall off, and notice I didn't say if, when I fall off, I don't stew about it. I don't be like, oh my God, I got to start over from square one, or, oh, I'm such a horrible person because I skipped a day of training, or I ate the chocolate chip, or whatever the case is. Like, I face it, I forgive it, and then I forge ahead. I mean, it's like if we continue to worry about failures or failing or, temporary setbacks, we will never get to where that line is, whatever that line of achievement is. And the thing about it is that line of achievement is always moving. So it's not like I'm always, I mean, you think about it. It's not, I can't just say, well, I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to get to this size, or I'm going to get to this, whatever the goal is. Well, there has to be something put in place for you to maintain it, to stay there. So, once you get to that, because otherwise, if you got to that line of achievement, you could just stop, right?
You're right.
So the line of achievement keeps moving.
Well, but like, say you want to go, I don't know, say you want to lose weight and get to a size. You have size 0 over your area, don't you?
Yeah, we
size
do.
0 is supposed to be this amazing goal, right? And I'm like, oh my God, how skinny do you want to get, right? So like for me, size 10 would be lovely. I was a size 10 when I came to Australia. I'm so not one now. Let me just put it that way, right? We're so glad this is audio. And hey, I'm like, I would class myself as a normal size 50, okay? So it's okay. I'm not some mahoofif blooming lady. And if I was, so what,
Absolutely.
right? I'm a lovely person, so it doesn't matter. But if I wanted to get to a size 10, that's great. I could get down there. Well, maybe I couldn't at the moment. But anyway, we digress. But if I get down there, like you said, right, I've got to stay, like, I can't get down there and then go, oh, I'm going to bounce back up to, like, you have to maintain it, right? Which is still a whole different ball game, because it's not about restricting food or any, like, exercising like a crazy person to get to the size 10, right? You then, if you gave it all up, if you achieved your goal and went, okay, I'm there, happy days, it's, it's like climbing Everest. Right, it's okay to get up to the top, but then you've got to get down, right? Which is
it's a challenge as well,
harder than getting up, right? Because most people die on the way down. And let's not talk about death. But
Claire.
but I know, don't go there. It's like, oh my God. But that's okay. I'm now on my second cup of coffee. I didn't get much sleep because my son was sick, so it's okay. We're going down every avenue at the moment. So how do we teach our kids this? And I would call it resilience, right? Because you are going to get every day we get negative stuff happen in our lives. Small, some are really small stuff, like, I don't know, like you run out of coffee, and some are really big, major stuff, right? I'm not going to run out of coffee, believe you me, but some are big, major stuff. So how do we teach our kids this? And I think you work in the community a lot, don't you? And like you help kids with all of these sort of issues.
That is correct. I have a lead program for ages 6 to 17, and then for ages 18 to 21, I have a mentee program. But it's basically, I think teaching our children is twofold. One, we have to be very transparent about our struggles and about our failures. Now, of course, I'm not saying if the child is 6, you need to talk to them about, something traumatic that happened in your life. It has to be within their level of understanding. However, I do feel like when we talk to them, we have to be totally honest about why we ended up the way that we were, or in the situation, or even if it wasn't our fault, why the person or the thing or whatever that has, become an obstacle. How did it become an obstacle? But most importantly, problems should never be amplified, or issues, struggles should be amplified. Solutions should. And that's where I think we send the mixed messages, because it's like you beat the horse to death about problems. Oh, woe is me, victim, 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 woe is me. And, when people, whether it's children or our peers or whomever, if that's all that they hear and that they resonate with, how can they be taught resilience? It's just, it's not really possible. I think that's one, being very transparent with our, our shortcomings and our failures. But then definitely the best lesson for resilience is to allow the person to have their own consequences from their actions. I don't care from 3 years old, 6, 8, 18, 10, 28, 80. We have to be willing, to allow people to carry their own crosses and bear their own burdens, because you learn from that. One thing I am a sole believer in is that crisis brings construction, but coddling brings destruction.
Yeah. Yeah, because like if you don't have crises in your life, then how are you going to grow? If everything was perfect all of the time, like, well, why wouldn't you want to, like, why would you change that? Why would you want to go and do X, Y, and Z?
Well, it kind of ties into like, one of the things that you and I talked about before from a parenting standpoint. If you're always there and you're enabling them, or you're softening the fall, or you're softening the blow, it's not going to teach them resilience. It's not going to teach them to correctly overcome the obstacle, because actually you did it. You overcame the obstacle for them. So I think it's just very important that we learn how to separate when we need to step in. And there are times now, obviously, if I've got a toddler who isn't as alert or aware as I am, and he, is taking off into traffic, I'm not going to be like, well, let me just let him learn from that
lesson. You can learn your lesson.
Absolutely.
No, that's fair enough.
Absolutely. So there has to be balance there, but we have to make sure that whatever the age appropriate, the understanding for the mindset of the individual, you have to just be very mindful that, some things they just got to go through. And that's the now cliche. You gotta grow, or you grow through what you go through, or whatever people are saying.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it's such a like everybody is saying that now. But I really believe that really the only way for true growth for all of us, just the human race, is just really to to go through some things and understand why. So then that way it's like the next time, I'm not gonna, make that choice. I like to use the analogy. I shared this with my mentee some time ago. I have a son. He's 34. Our daughter is 32. Our son is more cautious than our daughter. And I don't know if that's because she was the baby or what. But what my son would do is he would, go, let's just say, to the end of the cliff, and he dangle an arm, or maybe he dangle a leg or whatever, and he's just like, different problems, different situations, different whatever in his life, he would, kind of tinker with it. But our daughter, who's 32, and, when she was younger, she would be the one just fly off the cliff. And it's like, just let me land where I may, because that was her mindset. She was invincible. She was going to do what she wanted to do without any caution whatsoever.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's an awesome analogy, I think. So tell me about positive plays.
Positive.
What are positive plays? Because I've heard you mention this a few times in previous things I've heard you speak about. What are
Positive plays are facing adversity and adversaries relentlessly. Absolutely, 100%. It is impacting and influencing others through making good decisions and good choices for outcomes or results that might have gone left, but because you decided, no, I'm not going to, fall into the trap of not making a right choice during this particular time. I'm actually going to make a good choice and I'm going to have a better outcome. A lot of times I think the plays or our life playbooks that we have is filled with different things that could go either way. It's just like sports. And it is some plays we're going to execute and we're going to fumble the ball. We're going to, what do you call it? We're going to airball or we're going to strike out. And then other plays, we're going to actually hit a home run. We're going to shoot that 3. We're going to make that touchdown. And those are, the positive plays in life. It's just making sure that we're learning from our mistakes, that we are overcoming obstacles each and every day and just really striving to be better and do better.
Yeah. And what you're saying is it's about focusing on making the right choices. They're your positive plays. Focusing on making your right
and
choices.
Notice I didn't say perfect.
So if you're in
I didn't say perfect play, but because again, I can line it up as much as I want to and play it out in my head and say, this is the result that I'm after, but I can still fumble the ball. I can still, not get to.
The world still has an effect.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The world still has an effect and people still, things still get involved in your
absolutely.
And I have to agree, like when I was younger, I have to agree with you, I would plan out and go, right, this is going to be the perfect night or whatever and blah blah, and it never used to go like that. And I'll never forget, I got married when I got married when I was 24, which is a long time ago. I do sometimes wonder what he's doing now. And divorced about 2 or 3 years later. So that was a lesson learned. But it was raining on my wedding day. It rained. It was like horrible wet. Everyone was like, oh no, we're so sad for you that it's raining. And I'm like, can't control the weather. Can't do X, Y, and Z. And in fact, it brightened up for some fantastic, awesome green photos. Wow. So we went to like a park and had loads of fun. They were lovely and green and lush and everything was clean because it had just been washed by the rain. The stuff was really dirty. And so the things are like, you can't plan for like a beautiful sunny day and this, that and the other. So you just got to get on with whatever you get thrown, haven't you, really? No. So that's good. That's fair enough. So talk to me and tell me a little bit about what you do with the kids that in the community stuff that you're doing with the kids that you deal with. Your 6 to 10 year olds, is it? And then your teenagers.
Right. Well, it's 6 to 17. And what and what it is I have a lead program where I just pretty much instill different tips and tools on how to be a successful leader. And I think leadership is important at that particular age because, of course, we know they're being bombarded with, peer pressure, with bullying, with just all sorts of things, right? That's testing them as a person, And so what that lead program is designed to do is to help them understand why leadership is important. The very first tool of me or what I share with them about me and how I grew into, a pretty decent leader is I talk to them about in order to lead, you have to you have to go behind effective leaders. So, that is trying to steer them in the right direction as far as, them picking their friends or their circles, because, you are who you associate with. And so giving them those types of tools to understand why it's important for them, with education, with ambition, with determination in every area of their life is very important, is a necessary tool. So that's what we talk about. Now, my 18 to 21-year-olds, which is, mostly girls, mostly young adult women that I have.
Wow,
mostly young adult women. We talk about life, because at that point, okay, they're pretty much still trying to figure out who they are, what they want to be, what they want to do in life. And so it's just about trying to cultivate them to understand, okay, now at this point, what you do, not only will it affect you, but it's going to have a boomerang, cause or an effect that's going to, reverberate through your family, through, the community as a whole, as a large. So those two
and could last for a long time.
So those two programs,
because we're out in the social media world, right?
Gosh.
So, when you and I were their age, right? Like, we had TV and we had whatever was happening within our local community as such, but like the globe wasn't as accessible potentially to us, only through what we were fed in magazines, papers, and the media. But now,
millions and millions and millions and millions of people can see that you do stupid stuff too.
Yeah, well,
that's one of the luxuries.
We used to do stupid stuff, and there was no videos. Exactly, and then this is the thing, right? We all used to do stupid stuff, but we weren't on video, or I'm
so thankful.
Yes, so am I. Oh dear, so am I. So I feel for our kids, because I think there is just so much stress and pressure on them to perform. Number one, to perform, right? And some of our kids don't want to perform in the social media arena, but it's about performing, and they feel as though, what is out there should be out there. I should be out there. I should be doing this. And also what they post is out there for a long time.
Absolutely.
So if not forever. And somebody somewhere, if they become famous or they do some fantastic achievement or whatever, somebody somewhere is going to pull up a bit of dirt on them or whatever. So it's really, our kids need to be very conscious about what they've got out there. It's an interesting world to live in for them, poor kids.
Absolutely. And that's why I try to tell them, it's one thing to, live a little reckless, because we all, let's face it, we all have been there, done that. And I'll admit, even some things to this day, I'd be like, I may have to just pay for that later. But I feel like, it's just understanding the impact, the true impact and influence that I have. And then what's the intent behind it? So, if I want to leave a good legacy and I want to help people to make positive plays, to convert downs in lives to wins, and other things that these platforms that I, have decided that I can be a subject matter expert or I can speak on, then I have to be very aware of my presence, of my words, of my actions, my whereabouts. I just, I don't think that there's any other way, especially in today's society, for us to, get that point across. And I get it. They don't understand it at certain levels, but that's why, at least for my grandsons, what I do for them is I show them the video that a person who is not making a good decision or a good choice that they've done. And then if it leads to jail, or if it leads to, if it's something really traumatic like a death or whatever. But my grandsons they range from 14 to 4. Of course, I don't show the 4-year-old that, but definitely
you don't show the 4-year-old that.
14-year-olds and the 13 and 12, they understand. So showing them that, and for a moment, at least if they're faced with it, they're like, ooh, because I've had like two of them that have come back to me like, ooh, no, this happened. And I remember that video that you showed me. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. So I think that's
Yeah.
that's a fear.
And I agree with you. Like my biggest fear is my son is now 6 going on 7, and he's now on iPad playing games and stuff like that. And a lot of the games that, I mean, he's not on like 17 plus games, but he is on some, like, I shouldn't have done this, but he's on like some 9-year-old games and stuff like that. Because his friends are on there, Minecraft, blah, 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 right? But like in some of these games, people can come and talk to them, and that's where they do this child grooming. And like, I've been in IT forever. So all of the security issues and all of this grooming and catfishing and all of this stuff, I sit there and I go, I know this is real. I know this can be fatal. I know this is like horrendous. I do not want any of that to happen to my son or any child, right? And these kids they're so innocent. Like, he's so innocent and he gets sucked in. And so obviously I've blocked all of that chatting and talking and accepting friends and all of that on everything, right? But it's about educating them and saying, these people are out there. Not everyone you meet or talk to is going to be a nice person. Hopefully they will all be, but you just don't know. And these people are dealing with their own issues. It's not anything to do with you as a person. But it's showing them. Yeah. So that it is the advantage of YouTube in the fact that some people have gone out there and done the talking to kids on computer games, and then gone and got them. And oh my God, I was watching a program the other day. It was in the States. I was watching a program the other day where these guys are playing games, where you can have this online gaming where you talk to people and you can join up in teams and you can win money through these games, right? And there was another guy who basically would set up SWAT teams. So people would get peed off with whoever they're playing, right? They would know them, and then they would pay this guy money to phone up the police and get SWAT teams to turn up to houses and stuff like that, saying, I'm there, I've shot my dad or whatever, and I've got guns and all. And the SWAT teams would turn up, and like somebody died because somebody did this joke but sent them to the wrong house, and somebody died, right? And this dude is going, why are all these people at my house, So it's people don't actually understand the implications of their actions. So yeah, the internet is a scary place. It's a great place, but also a scary place. So, hey ho. So look, where can people talk to you, or get your books or find out more about you then? Where can they find you?
Well,
you've got a website and Facey and all of that
Absolutely. Stuff. I am all over the scary and the sane part of the internet. My website is www.inotherwordsbystone.com. I am on every social media outlet known to man, either Angela Marshall or The Story and Life of an Ex-NFL Wife. And you can, any of those outlets, you'll be able to reach me, connect with me, purchase books, just say, hey, send constructive criticism, because I don't do bashing. I don't do demeaning or belittling. I do not respond to any of those type things. But, anything that can help me to be better and to become better, I'm here for it.
No, I agree with you. Constructive criticism is great. Trolls, go away. That's all I can say.
Even if they don't go away, I'm not going to feed them, so they're going to starve. So they can continue to leave the comments, which I do. If it's really vulgar, or if it's just, really, really awful comment, I'll ban it or I'll delete it. But I leave all of the hateful, sometimes the hateful or discouraging, I leave it, because it's a reminder for me that, I'm not for everybody. Everybody's not going to agree with me. Everybody's not going to understand my perspective, but I don't care.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. So look, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. It's a pleasure talking to you, real pleasure talking to you. And I'm so grateful that you came on and like spoke to me about everything that you're doing, everything that you've learned. It's been one hell of a journey for you, Angela, one hell of a journey. But it's positive because you've turned it into a positive and you're helping kids out there and teens just get through life, which is brilliant, and hopefully become good leaders, or at least give them the tools to deal with life, which is brilliant.
I truly believe in my mission as it is stated, and that is I am seeking to positively impact and influence through my words, through my work, and through my wisdom. And with keeping that in my forefront, it just helps me to pay attention to how I act, how I speak, how I react. Just it encompasses that. One sentence just encompasses so much of how I'm trying to live my life, regardless of certain things that I go through. I'm not going to throw in the towel ever.
Yeah. Look, I must be getting old because I am old, so I don't know what I'm saying. I must be. But I think I've learned a different level of understanding and empathy for other people. So people can get shirty or, snap at me or whatever, right? And basically I just then normally it would be about me, right? Previously it would be, oh, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with, blah, blah, blah. But the problem is that it's not a problem. I can't think this morning. It's not a problem. The thing is, I've turned that round and I go, well, I wonder what's going on in their life for them to actually, so it's turning it round. And actually, it's not all about me. It's not about my ego. It's not about me and where the situation is. What's happening in their life that they're actually reacting in such a way that it's so snipey or negative but maybe they just don't like me. Well, that's okay. Like you said, I'm not everyone's flavour, as it were, but maybe there's really bad stuff going on in their life and they just need to get it out some way. And
that's usually the
dumper truck and dumping their rubbish.
That's usually the case. They have something going on personally. They have something going on professionally. It could be that they don't like you. Or the major thing, it could be because they don't like them. They don't like themselves. So either way, exactly. Any of those four scenarios is none of my business. I can't help it. I can't change it. So what I can do is just not take it personal. Exactly. And whatever the interaction is for that moment, that's what it is. And then I go on my merry way.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, thank you again. I have one final question for you. If you could recommend a book for my listeners, and it can't be your own books, right?
It would never be.
We've already recommended them loads. But what would it be? What would that book be?
Oh gosh!
What
Let me tell you,
impacted your life?
Yeah, I am on such a mindful journey until I've read some really, really great literature. I will say probably, oh gosh. Well, the book that I carry around with me, even when I'm reading other things, and I think I've read it in December, I started reading it in December, but I've reread it several times since then. It's The Mountain Is You by Brianna West, a phenomenal book. The Mountain Is You by Brianna West. I also will recommend, it's phenomenal. I will also recommend Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights. Phenomenal.
Oh my God. Yes, love him.
Phenomenal.
I mean, I loved him before, but after the book,
absolutely. Phenomenal.
Fair enough.
I think any tool, any book that you can get, I'm not going to be sappy and say it should just be a self-help book, because again, I'm reading some books that are just helping me to just grow as a person. I think any book that your readers can get that really inspires and not just from an inspirational point, but it actually illuminates and it liberates them to be better and do better and achieve whatever it is they're trying to achieve in life, hey, they should go for it. But those are the two books that have really propelled me. The Mountain Is You by Brianna West, and then Matthew McConaughey, Green Lights.
Wow. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Look, thank you so much again. I've said it how many times? Thank you. Look, it's a pleasure having you on the podcast. I'm going to let you get on with your evening because it's evening where you are. And you can go do what you do in the evenings. I'm not sure what you do in the evenings, but and I'm going to get on with my day because we're in Australia here and it's just morning time.
Yay, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I look forward to, connecting again on down the road. However, and when I get to Australia, I'm definitely going to look you up because it is on my living life list.
Oh my God, you're welcome. Come and visit. Come and visit. I'll take you for a wine.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cool. No, thank you. Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too.
Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast and you would like to hear more, please hit subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. If you would like to support us further, share this episode with your friends and family. And finally, drop us a review on iTunes, as I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, and ideas. It all helps me to understand and produce awesome content you want to hear just like this. If you want to check out our past episodes, write to us, appear on the podcast, or for links, resources, and show notes, go to our website, www.strongsingleandhuman.com. We are also on all the usual social media platforms, Insta, Facey, and Twitter. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Be kind to yourself and remember, no one is perfect. We're all just putting one foot in front of the other and doing our best. I'm Claire Martin, and you've been listening to the Strong, Single and Human podcast.